Hey guys, how you doing? My name's Llama and today I wanted to talk to you about macros. So this video is going to be a little short and sweet about just a few of the macros that I find incredibly useful on a daily basis while playing World of Warcraft. Some of these are combat based macros, some are just going to help you when you're in and around town doing your auctions, things like that. But in no particular order, I'm now going to go through some of my favourites that I hope will be helpful to you also. So let's begin. So first up we have my multi-use mouseover macro. So you're probably all familiar with mouseover macros that target an enemy based on whether it is under your cursor or not for an ability, or if you are a healer, an ally. But this macro just goes like one little step better and allows you to do both of those things. So what the macro does is you bind two spells to the macro onto the single button that you will have this macro on, and then it will determine when you press that button whether the NPC that is underneath your cursor is an ally or an enemy, and then it will cast the corresponding spell. For example, I'm showing you here footage from my Disc Priest, whereby my number 1 key is bound to Power Word Shield if it is over an ally, or it is bound to Smite if it is over an enemy. Some classes do benefit more than others from this, for example my Disc Priest, because you do a lot of healing and damage in order to use your atonement properly. But it is useful to practically everybody. For a lot of DPS, for example, I know like to use this macro to use their off heals on their allies, while also using it as an interrupt on enemies. So next up we have my vendor purchasing macro. So what this does is it simply provides you the ability to put a button on your bar that when interacting with an NPC and you then press that button, it will purchase the item that is listed in the corresponding location on that vendor's item list. Now this is incredibly helpful for purchasing items from vendors that come up with little prompts for clicking OK to make sure that that is the item that you want to buy, as it will skip that out. And it also gives you the ability to spam a button rather than having to multi-click for multiple purchases. Next up we have by far the most basic macro on this list, and that is a /reload macro. Now this is not a macro you're going to use a lot, but it is one that is very helpful. Let's say that you enter a battleground and it swaps your specs and your UI has just gone crazy. This macro gives you a single button you can press that's going to reload your UI and hopefully fix the problem that you had. It's also very popular on banking alts, as it is going to instantly reload your UI to refresh the mailbox to continue to collect to open your auction. And the final macro I want to mention, I'm actually going to mention two here, but I'm going to make it as one because they do essentially the same thing, and that is that these macros will queue you for dungeons and battlegrounds. So this is really simple. It will use the information that you have already selected in regards to what role you want to fulfill, and it will queue you for a random heroic or a random battleground. Now if you were to queue for something slightly different, let's say you were doing the time walking event was the last thing that you queued for, when you use the macro next it will then queue you for that. If you use the macro a second time while in the queue, it will leave the queue. But this is really helpful for particularly for leveling alts, or for when you are trying to get yourself queued for call to arms very quickly so that you can get the reward without being in a queue for about 10 minutes before you even get the heroic that claims that it needs you in this queue. So that's it for this video guys. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please do consider to subscribe to the channel or give the video a like. It does mean a lot to me. And I will see you in the next one. If you are planning on using any of these macros, they are all linked for you down in the description below. Please feel free to just copy and paste them in game. That's it for me guys. Catch you later.